Africa here. They're all thrilled about being here and tomorrow the game against Union Berlin. Obviously, we coming to South Africa soon. And then we'll open up the questions for you guys. So just...
Yeah, I think maybe I'll start just the reasoning for you guys have been chosen some months to come to South Africa, what you want to achieve there, and firstly, how much do you guys know about their South African football?
I know lots since many years because one of my teammates in my youth time was Lance Davids, former South African national team player. No, I think he's still an agent. And there was a second one, Marvin, but he didn't make the way to pro. So I have some experience with players from South Africa. There was a big World Cup. I was several times with my family in vacation in South Africa. We really love the country, the culture, the people, the kindness, how they welcome us, really heartwarming. And for us it's a privilege to come to South Africa, to get in contact with many people, to know a little bit more about the people, about the culture, about the country, because we highly appreciate their passion and their culture for soccer. This is something what worldwide bring the people together, and especially in South Africa. And that's why we are there, because it's even our philosophy and in our DNA, not only of RB Leipzig, even of the global Red Bull soccer world and Red Bull itself. We want to act not only national-wise, we want to be a part of the Red Bull global family, so it means we want to travel, so it's a privilege, 3 years in a row, 3 different countries, from Brazil, New York and Miami, now to South Africa. It's an absolute privilege for everyone, not only for the coaching staff, for the players, even for the people who will join the tour after the season. So we are really looking forward to the tour.
Can you just explain for the average football viewer what is head of sport? What does your job entail, your tasks as the head of sport at RB Leipzig?
So mainly I have 3 departments. Of course, it is the first team, the coaching staff, and the players. It's the whole women's department where we try to improve the level for women's soccer. So we are settled in the first league, but we know exactly that we have some potentials. And of course, the whole academy means this is the whole sport. And I'm responsible, first of all, that we will embody our vision of Red Bull. Means we want to work with young, hungry, high potential athletes. We want to help them, we want to support them, we want to develop them for a certain time in their career. And for us, there are always like 3 big factors that we can embody our philosophy and our values. Means if you want to work and to develop, you need a great infrastructure, because it's not only that it sounds great, we want to work and we want to develop, sounds great, but you need some circumstances to do it every single day and in your daily business. And if you don't have the right pitches, if you don't have the right facilities, you're not even able to work on a very high professional level. So we have the infrastructure. And this is my job always, to consider, are we still on the top level or should we invest? And then if we invest, in which parts we have to invest. We need to sign absolutely experts on every position. Means not only on the field that we want to sign young, hungry, high potential players. We even want to work with young, hungry, high potential people outside the field who are hungry, who want to learn, who want to listen, who want to create their own successful story here with us. So experts or signing experts, best people for the position is my job. And of course we need to live a certain culture, because development is something what even sounds great, but if you want to develop people, if you want to help them to achieve their goals, if you want to help them to achieve their dreams, they need to make experience. And experience means you need to allow them to make mistakes. because from every mistake, we know that from our life, not only in the job, even in our private life. When we make a mistake, we definitely think about it way more than in successful times, and we learn way more from it, and we became way stronger from it. And this is part of our culture here in Leipzig. So it sounds a little bit crazy. A lot of people use the word mistake. We don't prefer, or we don't do it really often. We prefer to say experience, and experience is part of our culture. So again, in a short summary, my departments are the first team, the women's team, and the whole academy. And I'm responsible, of course, that we are successful as a club. Means one, we need to have the right results, and on the other hand, we need to embody our philosophy given by the headquarter and our former owner, who unfortunately died, Dietrich Mateschitz, that we want to give wings to our people.
I'm curious. Marcel, I just want to know, what does it take, especially as a sporting director, what does it take to move from being a 5th division club to actually being consistent in the UEFA Champions League? What kind of work goes into that?
I think first of all, you need a clear goal where you want to finish or you want to end. We all know your how do you say that? Your travel? Was heißt nochmal Reise?
Journey.
Your journey, absolutely. Your journey will never end. But it was already clear when Red Bull made the choice for Leipzig that they want to be a first league team, that they want to compete for titles, that they want to go to any international competition. So for me, it's always very important that you have a clear goal, that you set milestones, that you fix a certain philosophy for your club, which has to be respected by all employees. It doesn't matter if it's on the pitch, the players, or outside the pitch. And that is like mainly what you need to fix first. Clear goal, a clear vision with clear milestones, and a clear philosophy where everybody has to respect. And then, we all know, it's a lot of work. Hard work, a lot of work. But if you consider that, if you have the willingness to work for your goals, if you have the willingness to invest more than everyone else, you will achieve it. I'm totally convinced in it.
Marcel, I know we go to Leipzig Sundowns, Leipzig Sundowns. I think it will be like that because we all have different questions. But I want to ask you, obviously part of what you do is recruitment in terms of players, and we've learned today, thanks to the academy tour, that you guys not only scout in Leipzig, you scout outside for academy players, even in your first team, someone like Diomandis that you guys scouted. I want to ask you from a South African perspective. You had teammates that were South African, and we had a number of players maybe playing the Bundesliga in years gone by. Why do you think that has stopped? Because at the moment we have only one player in the second Bundesliga, a young player, but we've stopped producing players that make it to that level. Do you think it's a case of the Bundesliga teams not looking at South Africa anymore, or what has changed in terms of what South Africa can produce, like from your perspective?
So first of all, we look at every country. So we don't define like countries. Okay, we have some markets where we exactly know the league has a certain level. Because if we sign players for Leipzig, we all know they need to have, of course, certain potentials, and even maybe players have already showed up at a certain level and have showed their quality, because if not, it doesn't really make sense, and the risk is too high just to bring in some projects, because we as a club have even our goals, you know. Our goals is not only work and development with young, hungry, high potential players, it is even always play consistently in any international competition, and best case we always want to compete for the Champions League. At the moment we are in a good situation for the run, next to Stuttgart, Leverkusen and Hoffenheim. But of course, like the key markets for us are maybe some different leagues, But if you speak about scouting, scouting is changed a lot in the last couple of years, and we use a lot of data. Data is our basic for our scouting department. First of all, we scout our players and even Diomande with data. Afterwards, if the data are a certain match, because for every position we have clear KPIs, and in a few minutes we have a clear list which could be a match, which player, or which players are not a match, with our clear fixed KPIs. Then we go for video scouting, and in the end we go out for live scouting. So yes, at the moment I think there is so much potential in South Africa, so many people, so many passion for soccer, such a crazy, in a positive way, fan culture, and we saw that so many times. But of course, even a country like South Africa need to have investments in the academy, that players can grow, that players have like good facilities, It must be not as like here, but if you want to work young players, if you want to bring them like to Europe, if you want to bring them in any top league, they need to have the basic to grow, they need to have the right education, and that's definitely something I think where are some potentials.
Do you guys use like AI tools for scouting? Because you were saying like within minutes you'll know the KPI, so the like data processes that you use like that, and do you use like tools like Transfer Room, for example, as well?
Yeah, we use almost all the tools which we can use, because data is not only the present, data will be more and more the future, but it is always a little bit risky, because there is one thing with data, we even speak about humans, we speak about characters, and that is something what is at the moment like a little bit difficult. If you want to sign a player with a certain character, like if you want to sign a leader, how can you fix this with data? It's difficult to do it, and that is difficult maybe if you work for any company who produce cans, cars, there is all about numbers, data, trends, developments in certain markets. But here, if you work with humans, there is even the mental side, a very, very important part of performance. It's not only the body, it's not only statistics, it's not only the training, it's even the mental side, and that's still what makes soccer so special, and still a privilege to work there, because you work with humans, and this is something what is a huge challenge for me, and what I love to do, to work with people, to be in touch with people, to speak about their dreams, about their potentials, and to try to support them with all the up and downs, what is normal in our life, and especially in soccer.
So, in a nutshell, what you're saying is that though data is important, but it has to coexist with video, and also just the look and feel, because there are certain things that each of them can give you. So data can give you, like you say, it doesn't tell you this guy is a leader, it doesn't tell you this guy relates with teammates, his attitude, that kind of thing. So what I'm saying is that in a nutshell, you are saying we have to try and marry all these things together. We can't just be data all the time.
Yeah, like data is in the first step very helpful, save you a lot of time. If you take a pyramid, the basic is like a data. Second step is video. Third step is live scouting. And the last step is that you try to get as much information about the person and the character as you can. There is always no guarantee that everything is like confirmed and 100% clear, but the soccer is a huge world, but even a small family. So if you are in the business for 20, 25 years, many people from many countries, from many teams who still work in the soccer business. So you will get a lot of information about players, and of course every club do that. You have always even conversations with the agents, with players, with families. You know a lot about social media, because they present themselves in social media, not only the players, even families and wives and girlfriends. So this is always something what we even consider, because we will not only sign players and even some more people around, and it must be a match. You know, what we always want to do is create a win-win situation for all parties. So we want to have a sportive commitment, and we want to have like even players who feel comfortable here in Leipzig and appreciate our circumstances here with the club, with the city. And we all know if a player and his family feel comfortable, they can totally focus and they are totally free for their work and for their dreams. And this is something what we definitely have to find out, next to that data is more and more important.
Okay.
Sorry, I want to ask you, how do you guys balance your operations at Leipzig? Because let's say if you compare it with what Sundowns do, for example, Sundowns don't sell players, they buy the best players, go out, they spend money, they buy so that they can compete. What we've seen with you guys is you develop the best players, but you know at a certain time, let's say bigger clubs will come and buy them, and for the money that they offer those players, it makes sense for you guys to then let them go. How do you sustain being ambitious and chasing Champions League consistently, chasing the Bundesliga consistently, and still maintaining the competitiveness after selling some of your big players?
Yeah, it's like part of our DNA. That if you look at our history, if you look at our transfer summers, there was most of the time that the best players left our club. But on the other hand, if you have the clear philosophy, work and development, especially for young, hungry, high potential players, you need to write successful stories. Successful stories bring you in the focus of other top talents in the world. And I think Leipzig is well known and really famous for these win-win situations and successful stories, that we are really clear that we want to support players for a certain time. Of course, we cannot sell every player. You know, we cannot do that. And our goal is, of course, even to keep players, to build up a core in the end, after 3, 4, 5 years of experienced players who will help us to teach the young guys. We will bring in and maybe sell after a certain time. But our philosophy will get never changed. It doesn't matter who will sit here. Our ambition will be always the same. And we are totally confident that we can live our philosophy confirmed by the history of the club. So we are totally used to lose players, which has a certain level, and to bring young players in. And that's maybe was a big factor, just an example, why Jan Diamonde is here. You know, of course, we had good conversations with the agent, with the family, and with Jan. But in the end, if Jan already was informed about our history, he was totally triggered and says, yes, I want to come to Leipzig. I want to make the next step in my career. And in the end, Leipzig is a club. Players was never blocked here. Never. You know, because we know exactly our philosophy, we know exactly our DNA. So we know that Real Madrid is Real Madrid. We know FC Barcelona is FC Barcelona. And they are not miles away from us, but they are above us, sportive-wise and economic-wise, through the history of centuries. And we accept that maybe players has a dream to go to one of these 5 to 10 top clubs in the world. And we respect that. But we, with all our respect to all maybe the smaller clubs in smaller leagues than one of the top leagues, we are a club who can help players to achieve their dreams. And that's why RB Leipzig was so successful and is so successful in signing players for us. Because young players like Diamonde, they come, they perform, and help us to achieve our goals. But yes, of course, it's always a challenge if you lose your best players. But how many clubs can keep their best players? Bayern Munich? Yes. Everybody else in Germany difficult. So you need to handle the situation and have to make the best out of it. And we think our philosophy, again, confirmed by the history, is the best way and the best philosophy for Leipzig to compete for our huge ambitions, means qualifying for Champions League, means competing for titles, because we already won titles, so it's not impossible. You can win if you have big dreams and if you have the willingness to work for it and to invest everything. But even in respecting other clubs who are above us.
I wanted to actually just follow up on that question. How important also are players like, yesterday we were interviewing Peter, your goalkeeper, who's been here for 11 seasons. What role does a player like that play in terms of integrating new players in the club?
So, as I said before, sometimes, players, they're here for more than just a certain time, and not only 2, 3, 4 years. Like Peter Gulaschi, like Willi Orban, Lukas Klostermann, Jussi Paulsen, who left us last summer. So we had a lot of players who made more than 300 appearances for the club, and even more. So even this is part of our philosophy, but it develops. You cannot say, okay, he will be here for 10 years. Soccer is something that you cannot plan. It's given by the history, and it's given like by developments. But those players help us on and off the field to let the young players grow. Because even for Jan, for example, for Musa, for Konrad Harder, for Asano Traogo, which are all big, outstanding talents, and we think that we can give them wings to fly, means the sky is the limit for them. These players who already achieved a lot with the club, with the team, and even with the national team, they know exactly what it means. What does it mean to be a pro? What does it mean to fix some very ambitious goals and to work for it? What does it mean to be disciplined? What does it mean to invest really everything? Because a lot of people say, yeah, I do everything. But what does it mean? Are you really willing to invest more than everyone else regarding your mental side, regarding your athletic skills, regarding extra training every single day, regarding being always hungry, even if you score 10 goals, being hungry even if you win 5 times in a row? And this is an example and we always can learn from other clubs, what Bayern Munich makes maybe better than everyone else, because they're always hungry. It doesn't matter. Let's take Manuel Neuer. Unbelievable what he achieved in his career. Unbelievable. And in his age, he still make top performances. It's the same like with Peter Gulaschi, But that means you need really a huge passion, unbelievable discipline, and a hard-working attitude, and not only talent. And this is what an experienced player gives young players, And we all know it's not easy for a young player who plays the first time against Bayern or in Dortmund for 80,000 people. They can lean on their shoulders. So it's always important, especially on our DNA and our philosophy, to have a core of experienced players, because they will help us on and off the pitch to teach young players, And sometimes a coach, or me as a sporting director, we feel like teachers. We are in front of 25, 30 people. We tell them, this was really great, we have to improve this, so let's talk about the next potential steps for the next game. And then we leave the room. But it's a collaboration between us, coach, the leading management, and the core of experienced players. Because we all know from our life, if a colleague, if a classmate, or a teammate here in our club tells you something, gives you advice, you are on the right way, you're maybe on the wrong way, have sometimes more impact to players than if we tell them something. So it's always a collaboration between all the people. So I agree, a core of experienced players is part of our DNA, and it's very important, and we always consider this, because just with young players we cannot achieve our ambition.
The club culture you're talking about.
Exactly.
But I want to ask you that you bring up Jan the whole time, and it's a real life case study. What makes you confident that you can spend 20 million euros on an 18-year-old when everybody is saying, who is this? That was playing college soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, a year before. How are you confident in spending that money? And secondly, we can see what it's said in global media now. All of a sudden in 12 months is worth 100 million, which is potentially times, I don't know, 6, 8 of the investment. How is that valuation constructed of somebody who was bought for 20 million 12 months prior?
So first of all, like scouting or signing players is a process over a whole season, and there are many people involved. So it's not a one-man show, definitely not. There are a few people who say it's a one-man show, but it's not a one-man show. There are many people involved in the scouting department, in the coaching staff, in the leading management of Leipzig, in our global team with Jürgen Klopp and Mario Gomez. So a lot of people are involved. We are always in touch during our season. How can we improve our team level? Maybe what can happen? Which big club maybe has an interest and show up for one of our players, and we prepare a shadow list. And this is where we use the data in the first step with our KPIs. And for example, if Jan was clear, we want to play with clear wingers. We want to have a winger who can handle 1v1, who can create a lot of offensive situations. We don't talk about goals and assists. Of course, everybody wishes that. We need a player with a huge working attitude in both directions, offensive part of the game and even in the defensive part of the game. So data helps us in the first step after 2 games, and this is like where we say, valid? This is like already a valid number, but 2 games, you have to be careful. 2 games could be very negative, could be very positive, depends a little bit. And afterwards we go out for video and we go out for live scouting. And then if you are convinced in a player, you will get valued for your transfers maybe after 1, 2 or 3 years, and not from the beginning. But the same question, we had it several times. Marcel, are you really sure? Look at the history, like college, Leganes, with all my respect, but they were relegated. Like there are some sites online which value him at 1.5 million, and you want to pay 20.
Transfer market.
But there you see definitely there is a big change in the soccer world, that a lot of clubs invests more and more in the potential. 10 years ago, you invest maybe this amount in a player who has already 200 appearances and showed up in any top league. But right now, if you see, and this is not only Leipzig, you see many clubs invest in young, hungry, high potentials to help them to grow, and then maybe even, and we have to be honest, because there is even a business side, it's not only a sportive side. Of course, you need both sides. But we, as a club, everyone, were totally convinced that Jan was a 100% Red Bull profile and a 100% match what we are looking for. And yes, when we talk about the value of Jan, maybe at that moment it was a high price, but you will get valued after a certain time. And if you are convinced, it is better to invest in a player where everyone is convinced, where everybody gave his green light, instead of doing compromises. Such a successful story like with Jan was not expected. We have to, from a player where everybody was asking, are you really sure? And now everybody's like, hey, wow, that was maybe a cheap deal. From a very expensive to a cheap deal. And the only thing what I say is, we really work a lot with many people. And if many people are totally convinced, I think there's a high chance that you can write a successful story. It doesn't matter if it's 5 million, 20, 25 or 30. What is all big money?
Every team wants to win the league. I guess it's just ambition. What are the realistic targets really of winning the league? We asked Pete yesterday about what will it really take to go all the way and sort of, as a legend in England said, to knock them off the pitch, talking about the Bayern Munich.
So you mean that we compete for the championship? I mean, I played for Wolfsburg in 2009, and that was totally unexpected that we won the league. Bayern München struggled. In 2011, 2012, Dortmund made a great job, but Bayern München struggled. 2007 it was Stuttgart, Bayern München struggled. The only team, we have to be honest, who had an outstanding season. Without that, you can say Bayern München was struggling, was Leverkusen. Because this was like, but it was maybe once in 30 years. So you compete with a club which is, I think, with a huge distance and through the history, one of the best clubs in the world, and definitely the best club in Germany, sportive-wise and of course economic-wise. So, like Mamelodi and Sundowns, they are able, and it's easy for them to keep the best players. You know, they have definitely, it's not a must to sell any player because they have so much other revenues because they make such a great job in the last centuries, and Bayern Munich is a worldwide big brand, and they have world-class players. We want to develop too, because we know exactly we have huge potentials, but it's a lot of work and it's a long way. But of course, if Bayern Munich struggles, we want to do everything, maybe to compete once in our history for the championship. But after the big change last year, where we had a very disappointing season and we make a completely reset, means we sold our best players, we had a huge change, 28 transfers in total, new coaching staff, new staff members, so not completely, but a lot of new staff members. So there was a big change. So it was just to put the reset button and to go back step by step to where we belong to and where we see each other. But right now to say, yeah, next we want to compete with Bayern Munich for the German championship, I think it would be not realistic. But you still need to have your absolutely dreams here in your mind, and we will work for it. And that's why we are here. But in the first step, we want to compete with other teams for the Champions League places. We want to compete. If you ask me, do you want to win the German Cup? Yes, I want. And that's why we are here.
Do you think in German football in particular, there should be more tolerance towards like foreign ownership and investment, where obviously it was a very controversial thing when Red Bull bought Leipzig in Germany and things like that. But you see in England, for example, there's a lot of investment from foreign markets, and they are able to attract better players and be favourites for the Champions League. And I think that's what makes players stay, when you are able to compete for the Champions League. That's what Bayern has. Do you think there should be more tolerance towards that in German football to take it to the next level?
There are some pro and some contras about what you say, because I think we have a great fan culture, different to everyone else. For some people it's like, and I respect religions, of course I do it, but for some it's like similar like a religion, you know,
Yeah.
to go into the stadium, to support their clubs weekend by weekend, support them over centuries, going through all the up and downs. So I think, and this is, even I grew up as a big fan, you know, I even have the passion of the German fan culture. And this is given by the history, this is given because so many fans have like an influence even in the club. So there's nothing right or wrong, but to change it, I would be really careful about it. Because on the other hand, you know, everybody here in Germany is like proud of it, and it's even beneficial for us to say, okay, let's do the best out of it, and it is beneficial for us, like, to be a league where like English teams focus on to make some signings and some transfers, and we will sign the young ones, we will give them space, we will give them appearances, time to develop, and then they will make the next step. So I can totally identify with the culture, I can totally identify with our philosophy, and that is beneficial for us, that there is a league who is, especially economic-wise, in another league than our ones.
Very lastly from my side, I think today we are 49 days before the World Cup. Mannschaft will be there. Just what do you think these guys will do? Because if you look over the last few years, the German national team has not really done well at World Cups.
Absolutely, and there is no doubt about it. So even there, and even though I'm in the soccer business for so many years, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of our national team, I'm a fan of our players. So, and it will be even a tricky situation because we play against the Ivory Coast. So, I cross my fingers for Jan, of course, that he scores a lot of goals. Hopefully in every game 2 goals. But there is one game we will shot 3 goals as Germany. So you know, Germany is a soccer country with a huge culture, with a huge passion, and of course we have a huge ambition. So if we start in any tournament, even so we know the last couple of tournaments were disappointing for everyone, for the coach, for the players, and even for the fans. But if we start the World Cup in the US in the summer, of course we have the ambition to go as far as possible, means until the final, and maybe winning the World Cup like we did it several times. But we even respect the quality of many other countries, like France, like Brazil, like Argentina, like Spain, who has, their countries have the same ambition. But I'm always looking forward to summer with tournaments. It's a totally different summer and not as boring as without any tournament, and then everybody's focusing on transfers and on rumors. So I'm really happy that we have a summer full of games, full of topics about soccer and soccer on the field. So I will even join the World Cup for a few games, cross the fingers for all of our players. But in the end, I think you understand and respect it that I cross my fingers finally for the Germans.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Marcel has a